Ya, saya serahkan ke Bu Lilik sebagai MC. Ibu, silakan.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, all participants of today's international webinar. I would like to welcome and thank you for attending the webinar titled The Impacts of COVID-19 on the Sustainable Development of Cities and Settlements. Distinguished speakers and moderator from Universitas Kristen Indonesia, Profesor Dr. Engineering Urasiahaan Lirrekrek, Dr. Yopi Septiadi, STMSI, Dr. Ramos P. Pasaribu, STMT, Dr. Posma SJK Hutasoid, STSI, MSI, MSI, Leonard Disatpali, MSI, PhD, Insinyur Yadi Ismanto, M.Arts, Dr. Marsda Simatupang, Director of International Office Universitas Kristen Indonesia, Dr. Lisa Kailola, all participants of today's webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the second day of international webinar with the theme, The Impacts of COVID-19 on the Sustainable Development of Cities and Settlements, hosted by Master of Architecture program in collaboration with International Office Universitas Kristen Indonesia. For your information, this event is also live on YouTube official Pasca Sarjana UKI. My name is Lili Diah Pinontoan, and I am the Master of Ceremony for today's event. Before we start this program, there are some rules we would like to share with you in order to keep webinar go well. This is the rules. The first, all participants have to join this webinar from the beginning until to the end. There will be committee who check and update the participant attending. The second one, all the participants are suggested to silence the microphone by pressing the mute on your devices along the session from the speakers and turn on the camera. The third, if there are some questions along the session of the speakers, you are able to down your question in the chat box, and please introduce your name and institute. We'll discuss the question in the Q&A session. The fourth, all participants are suggested to be active in Q&A session by raising your hand. Direct question. Please introduce your name and institution and turn on your camera as well your microphone. Please turn off your camera if you are doing personal activities along the session. Thank you. Before we start the program, as an expression of our gratitude and to ask for God's guidance, please allow me to lead prayer in a Christian way. For ladies and gentlemen of other faiths, you are welcome to pray in your own way. Let's pray. Our Father in heaven, thank you for your grace on this today. You have allowed us to gather to join international webinar this morning. Please guide us, Father, to be able to carry out our duties and responsibilities. Bless the paper presenters, moderators, and all the attendees of this event. Be with us throughout the course of this event so it can run smoothly. Protect us from things that would interfere with the event. May all we do is pleasing to you and be useful for all of us today. Thank you, dear Father. We lift up our prayers and gratitude through your Son, our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, before we start the event, we will take a photo group. We would like to invite all these participants and speakers to open the camera so that we can do the photo session. Thank you. Looking the photographer. Ready?
Yes. I will count it. 1, 2,
2, 3. Finish. Thank you. The photo session is finished, ready? We come to our main event today. The final webinar which will consist of several sessions. Now we proceed the first session. This session will be moderated by Engineer Riyadi Ismanto, M.Arch. Engineer Riyadi Ismanto is the lecturer of Architecture Program Faculty, Universitas Kristen Indonesia. He finished his undergraduate degree at Architectural Engineering Bandung Institute on 1983, and he continued his master degree at College of, I can read, from Illinois Institute of Technology, IIT, Chicago. He ever been a guest lecturer at Faculty of Architecture on Karlsruhe University, Germany. Please welcome our moderator, Mr. Engineer Riyadi Ismanto, MSc Tulip. Sorry, M.Arch.
Okay, thank you very much, Ibu Lily, for your promote me as a moderator today, this morning. Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody, everyone, all the participants, all audience in this seminar. Thanks to our God because our healthy today and our chance we can gathering today for the third session in this seminar. Actually, I am now as a moderator in this third panels. I will hold two presenters who will be deliver our speech. The first one is Professor Dr. Ing Urasiaan Likrek with the topic Future Urban Planning and Building Design in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic. And then the second one, Dr. Yopi Septiadi, STMSC, with the topic Social Interaction in the Public Space in the COVID-19 pandemic period based on the egocentric territory concept from Irving Goffman. As we know, we have only limited time. Each presenter just have 20 minutes to present his speech. And then if a participant has a question, you can write directly in the chat box. So we hopefully the presenter can answer by typing or maybe by directly after the presentation. Also, we hope all the presenter that already present yesterday will be present today this morning because the discussion is very satisfied, very interesting. There is no yet conclusion anymore. Okay, for the first time, I want to read the CV of Professor Dr. Urasiaan. Professor Dr. Ing Urasiaan is head of Architectural Engineering Master Program, Universitas Kristen Indonesia. She is also professor in architecture and Department of Master of Architecture Study Program of Universitas Kristen Indonesia Jakarta. She finished her Bachelor of Architecture in 1967 at Bandung Institute of Technology ITB, and also Master of Program for City and Regional Planning in 1981 at Karlsruhe, Germany, and Doctor of Program for City and Regional Planning 1986 at West Berlin, West Germany. As we know, Professor Uras very a lot of experience in many fields of study. We don't need to explain all of this. I think you know about him, about her. Okay. I would like to invite Professor Urasyaan to present your speech. Thanks for yours, Uras. Please.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your attendance today, this morning. Speaking about the future work planning and building design in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic. So, in this pardon, I think I have problem with my pictures. In this theme, I would like to speak about the Stocksia, this theory of settlement, the principles of sustainable development from the United Nations, and the principle of sustainable development is then linked to the COVID-19 pandemic. To get a more precise theory about sustainable development. Yeah.
Excuse me, Buras. I think, yeah, okay, it's already, yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
you can continue.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. To get a more precise theory about sustainable development under current conditions. And third is discussion of urban planning and building design in the future will be carried out in 3 steps. First, regarding the principle of housing based on the theory of statistics and the science related to it. Second, regarding sustainable development from the United Nations. Third, regarding sustainable development in the context of COVID pandemic for the third altogether. As introduction, I can talk about acoustic theory. It still states the role of human in overall development because people do it and use it for himself. While UN stated that development is limited by the environment. The threat from the COVID-19 pandemic, which is beyond people's prediction for the sustainability of the UN versions of sustainable development. So further, I can tell about urban planning and building design currently require attention to the problem of the COVID-19 pandemic. Since the 2012 UN conference, it has been mentioned about the importance of the issue of sustainable development in urban and environment planning. Humans are creatures that easily adapt to their environment, but humans will be uneasy with their place of residence if they feel they are not suitable for their environment with the social conditions. They form the network of facilities, they design the protective facilities they build, and environment they design. And writing about sustainable development during the COVID-19 pandemic maybe can be utilized by the UKI Jakarta regional government. So, The increase in settlement is developed not in accordance with the established system, will encourage this integration. Short-term solutions were taken, for example, by opening many new settlements on the outskirts of the city. The growth of the new settlements puts a burden on the city with the obligation to provide infrastructure for out-of-town residents who work in the core city. This incident kept repeating itself as a result of the urban development becoming out of control. The developing settlements took forest land and fertile agricultural locations. Road projects, bridges, trains, power plant, etc. exacerbate this situation. Repairing all of that takes a very long time, and no modern technology can fix it. And also, Albert Schweitzer thought humans will become extinct through the destruction of the earth. Have we reached that stage now? So the first, I wanted to talk about the ability to predict environmental changes. In 100 years ago, so for example, changes in the past 100 years, we can see ability to prediction change almost really. But now, the changes in the present 100 years, we can see that take a super fast road, that we can not predict anymore what happens in the next. And combine of theory and the UN SDGs, I want to say about the elements of Dr. Ferris. In his book, mentions the basic elements of shelter is nature, that providing a premise on which will be placed settlements, human, public, and share, where humans carry out shelter, carry out various functions of life. And then network or natural and human system that facilitate residential functions such as roads, clean water supply, energy, electricity, etc. And now I can tell you about the shelter elements from the doxiadis. Feature 1, shelter elements is consists of nature, man, society, shells, and network. But the relationship between acoustics and disciplines of science, the acoustic, the left figure, so here is in the center of the scientific problem in economics, social sciences, political sciences, and administration, technical disciplines, and cultural disciplines. All together used for the people, society, for their happiness and relationship of economic and scientific disciplines. The goals of logistics is to achieve a balance between the elements of human settlements in order to guarantee happiness and safety for man. And now, the relationship between discipline science. In the case of mystic, we have mystic dwellings only in 3 dimensions and forgetting the 4th dimensions, namely time, in which life will be expressed in terms of function. This has occurred in medical science, for example, which for centuries has focused its attention on the human body and studies its structure primarily through anatomy, but neglecting its function, which can be studied through physiology. In modern times, medicine forms a coordinate study of the functions and structure of the human body. By adding this element of time, we will better understand the life form of dwelling, which is not only physically felt. And so, for acoustic classification, as I told yesterday also, population, community scale, and the acoustics theme is there together, an area on it. We can see it, the nature, man, and society, state in the spatial, leisure, transport, production, residence, and cells or shelter and networks. It's divided into 3 sections or second, community scale and area on it. So 1 man in 3 square meters or room in 15 square meters for 2 people. And also we can see for Jakarta with a number of 2 millions, but Jakarta has 14 million. And now the square is 300 square meter, but Jakarta has more than 300 square meter, but not 5,000 square meters. Double as 300 square meter, but the people is around Jakarta almost 14 million. Then you can see for Jakarta, the most important is transportation. The other question about nature, man, and spatial, leisure, production, residence, shelters, and networks, it will be the main theme for the large cities. We can see this, that's why I want to differentiate in the next pandemic and the sustainable development on city planning and building design. Looking at the chart of settlement relations and other disciplines above, we can make development priorities for a metropolitan city like Jakarta, namely first transportation, then followed by production and shells or shelters or housing. If Jakarta has been negligent in fixing this transportation, the impact will be felt and everywhere, because with other transportation network elements for an area as large as Jakarta, it can be held 650 square kilometer. And now the pandemic, urban planning and building design. So urban planning and building design have been several stages of urban development so far, namely development based on industrial era from 1.0 to 4.0, development by prioritizing urban ecological problems, development oriented towards sustainability, otherwise known as sustainable development. And now Sustainable Development Goals 17 Sustainable Development Goals from the UN, the target first until 17, I choose the first award without poverty and clean water, proper sanitation, clean affordable energy, cities and sustainable settlements, addressing climate change and terrestrial ecosystems. And now Munasinghe make the structures such the right picture that the triangle sustainable development edited by Cleveland, and from the acoustics from the Geoxiadis in the left side. Both of them told about economy, but Munasinghe has told about environment and social sciences are the same, but for acoustics, they told us cultural disciplines and political and technical disciplines is the main theme for the entire growth for the economy. And for the Munasinghe, he told about social empowerment, participant institutional, and diversity natural resources pollution. That is strengthened in the theme of an environment, but by the Geoxiadis, he doesn't told about the strengthen, but all of them together make the exit in the middle of this manpower or so man area. And now transforming sustainable urban development, we can see how the development of the sustainable urban development. Prior to sustainable development, the first growth as economic, the main object of development. And in the sustainable development, it is told about economic growth and ecological sustainability. It needs to be achieved and balanced in the development process. By the second phase, the economic growth and ecological sustainability come to social justice. It needs to be achieved and balanced in the development process. And the third phase told about economic growth, ecological sustainability, social justice. It needs to be achieved and balanced in the development process, and also cultural preservation. It needs to be achieved also in balance with the development process. And I can tell you the fourth, I should make it here in the fourth phase, is with the pandemic or health of the people is the most important theme for today. And now, definition of sustainable urban development. A sustainable city is defined as a city that is planned by taking into account of environmental impacts supported by city residents who have concern and responsibility for saving food, water, and energy resources, make efforts to utilize renewable natural resources, and reduce pollution to the environment. And second, sustainable urban development can be interpreted as a continuous effort to improve the quality of the life of city residents through increased productivity in the secondary and tertiary sectors. And sustainable urban development concept talked about the three basic principles of sustainable urban development: the principle of intergenerational equity, which is principle of sustainable development with a future orientation. The second, the principle of social justice in the disparity of access and distribution of natural resources in an intergenerational manner to reduce poverty, which is considered as a factor of environmental degradation. And third, the principle of trans-frontier responsibility. And now about building design and corona pandemic. Some suggestion is a result of the pandemic on the use of multi-level buildings in the city of Jakarta can be mentioned. Among others, implementing a building design which many openings, design of offices in the future after pandemic with a work from home system or VFH, or offices with smaller forms, not for many persons. The coronavirus brings many problems, but also many solutions to solve the problems of modern life. One interesting aspect of the current COVID crisis is the opportunity to observe change and adaptation in our industry in real time, said PG Chambers. And again, democratizing design. The pandemic has had a huge increase in designers doing free pro bono work for small business and organizations that normally can afford professional design services, he said. This includes things like the design, outdoor dining areas, reconfigured homeless shelters, and outdoor games and furniture structures that can be used on streets open to traffic. And second, we can make better use of our time, reduce the number of trips we take as a community, and work more efficiently. Thus, we can have more time to devote ourselves to our family, interests, and our life outside the office. Maybe it is which makes me an optimist in uncertain times. On the other hand, for us lecturers and our students, this pandemic is a difficult time. It is difficult to get used to not meeting our students, and it is difficult for our students to equip themselves with internet facilities, which are quite costly, and quality of the network is uncertain every day.
You, Prof, for us 5 minutes more.
Yeah, this is short. Since 1980, the idea of sustainable living format has developed as a manifestation to collective awareness of limited natural resources and the environment that supports human life in the future. Jonathan Porritt, British ecologist, disagree with the relationship between the three pillars. And the economy is a subsystem system of social life, and social life is a subsystem of the biosphere. We can see the picture: economy, society, environment. That even said our development is sought with the environment to be closed. And now, definition of sustainable urban development: geographic democracy, sociological, anthropological approach, economic approach views a center of increasing productivity, and the physical approach as a center and a system of various infrastructure. And now, on the other hand, we see the large number of buildings abandoned as a result of the pandemic. What can we do to solve and help them in their problem? The conclusion, I can see sustainable development relationship between the physical environment and human as builders and creators must be considered in relation to time, because environment can not only be seen in the spatial dimension or the 3 dimension, but also related to time dimensions. Urban planning and sustainable building design health standards, for example, many architectural faculties in Indonesia still adhere to a sewage treatment system, like yesterday I told, in each house. And the waste water, if it is considered clean, will be channeled to city sanitation. The education factor is very important in dealing with disasters to COVID-19. And third, health factor and equal access to water sources and clean must be a priority for at least 6 years and next year. According to the experience of the first influenza virus outbreak in Spain, in just 6 years, the problem will be resolved. Jakarta must immediately make sewage treatment for each of its rivers, because the contamination of river water has so far been neglected, even though the population of the city is smoothly on the river banks, depending on the water sources of certain rivers in Jakarta. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Bu Prof. Uras. I think we just heard that lesson about what that Bu Prof has been explained. I think in the future we still have a lot of chance, a lot of hope, yeah, to change our lifestyle, yeah, because of the COVID-19. Okay, thank you very much, Bu Prof. Uras, for your nice presentation. And the next, I would like to invite the second presenter today, Dr. Yopi Septiadi, STMSI. Hello. Yeah. Yes. Dr. Yopi Septiadi, STMSI, is a lecturer of Master of Architecture Study Program, Universitas Kristen Indonesia, Jakarta. He is also a lecturer at the KPP Urban Development Studies, University of Indonesia, Faculty of Tourism, Physiology, and Architecture, University of Pancasila. He is a researcher of cultural anthropology and secretary and member of Indonesia WBTB, Warisan Budaya Tak Benda, team on expert at Ministry of Education and Culture of Indonesia. For the syphilis, the extent of his syphilis, so many research that he's already done. Okay, Dr. Yopi, are you ready to present your speech? Hello, Dr. Yopi, are you there? Is there any problem with the Dr. Yopi? Hello? Yopi?
Hello, Mr. Riyadi. I think Mr. Yopi is not here.
Yeah?
Yeah,
What's
I
happened?
already searched his name in the participants list, but I cannot find his name.
So
we can continue the question and answer.
Okay. All participants, I would like to apologize about Dr. Yopi. I think there's a little bit problem, maybe, I don't know, with the Wi-Fi or maybe the computer. He's not here today. So we can continue our seminar in this morning to discussion with what the Professor Uras has been explained. Oh, Dr. Yopi, ayo mute, masih di mute, Bu Yopi. Pak Yopi masih di mute. Yopi, ya.
I'm sorry, my connecting was error. Okay, I go back.
Are you ready to presentation?
Yes.
You all right? Are you all right?
All right.
You look so tired.
To repair my connection.
Okay. I've already introduced your name and then your CV. This time for you. Okay, 20 minutes for Yopi. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Riyadi. I'm sorry, all. I have my trouble with my connection.
Okay.
I got run out to repair that. Okay. Good morning, all. Hope today be a blessed day. My topic is social interaction in the public space in the COVID-19 pandemic period based on the egocentric territoriality concept from the Irving government. I started by explaining the picture of this main site. Two back above the garden board explain that there is an owner around. For new arrival, it is not suitable to remove both backs, the sitting up, because the back is part of the egocentric territoriality sign of use. Bending the concept of Irving government, in this counter egocentric territoriality, assessed by a part of our conduct in the public space during the COVID-19 pandemic. In order to answer our self-protective behaviors in the public space. Okay, please to the next slide. Okay,
Ya
please
ampun,
to the
siapa
next
yang slide?
Okay, thank you. I do not need to discuss anymore about the impact of the COVID-19 and the number of cases, because in the first day seminar, the problem of COVID-19 has been explained, which is a health problem for humans in this world. So I discussed the problems only from the topic. First, is about physical distancing. What is physical distancing? According to the recommendation of the World Health Organization, the recommended safe distance for a physical distancing is 1 or 2 meters. Okay. Physical distancing is not social distancing. I quote from state of Dr. Jeff Wong in Putsandra. The spoke is, I think some people don't understand what the means of they're worried it might lead to social isolation. So we felt that maybe we should really use the term physical distance or physical distancing, because it is really about being physically separated, and socially we need to stay united, but only in a virtual way. I don't think I agree with this statement. From my opinion, I said that Dr. Jeff Wong is right at the beginning of sentences, but at the end of the sentences, it's difficult to apply in Indonesia because close family relationship, friendship makes meeting difficult to avoid. Okay, please, next. Now we talk about public understanding of the physical distancing. This issue can be answered through the picture. However, it is also risk if you let the family guests visit the house with the case of COVID-19 with no symptoms. Therefore, I advise a family meeting in an open space like a garden is better than accepting it at home. I say that society in general understands physical distancing in the sense of not being close to and handling with stranger. In my opinion, this understanding actually opens up more opportunities for COVID-19's transmission. What if known Okay, next. As a beginning of concept discussions, Irving Goffman explains social relationship position. Number one is anchored relation. What is anchored relation? Such that each and identifies the other personality, knows the other does likewise, and openly acknowledge to the other that an irrevocable starting has been made between them. The establishment of a framework of mutual knowing which retains, organizes, and applies the experience the ends have of one another. Number two, anonymous relations. That is, patterned mutual treatment between two individuals who know each other solely on the basis of instantly perceived social identity. As when the individual courteously faces a stranger on the street. Number three, minor intermediate forms. It means by when one and personality identifies the other but is not, and knows he is not. Personality identified in return. The example is, we are one school, not the class, not the class. One sins, but don't know name and never talk. Okay, next slide. The types of social relationship are closely related to egocentric territory, where sometimes there are claims of interaction between individuals in a public place related to the territorial egocentric nature in public places. This raises the attitude of individuals and groups to form protection against threats they occasionally come to harm them. This is the picture explain how egocentric territoriality use it. Okay, next. This is 8 purposes of protection with body language that is moved by the physical of each individual by Irving Goffman. From pictures, to have personal space, there are various ways, but whatever that is appropriate or not in the social and cultural life we have. Personal space, not as a permanently possessed, egocentric claim, but is a temporary, situational preserve into whose center the individual moves. In this picture, we can see the A position is blocking people from sitting, but not polite. In the B situation, prevent people from sitting by controlling the middle. So the stranger cannot near the actor. Okay, please, next slide. Number 2 is the stall. The definition is the well-bounded space to which individuals can lay temporary claim, possession being on an all or none basis. The point about stall, as suggested, is that they provide external, easily visible, defendable boundaries for a spatial claim. As Goffman illustrated, like a horse cage, when the horse is bringing out to walk or training, then another horse can enter the cage. But if the horse came, then the other horse should get out of, because the cage doesn't own it. That's a sample from Irving Goffman from his book. But in a routine situation, we can see in that picture that number 1 position and number 2 position in picture A, you can see that that's the routine position, and B, one day number 2 is not come to the place, the number 1 can be moved to place number 2. But if a number 2 came, the number 1 is go back. Okay, please, next. Use space. What is use space? Number 3. The territory immediately around or in front of an individual, his claim to which is respected because of apparent instrumental needs. Goffman provides an example of a gallery goer who could hope that when standing close to other people's image will make an effort to minimize hindering former's vision. You can see in that picture, that example, you cannot pass that people are taking photos. This is not polite in culture and maybe in social life. Okay, next. Number 4 is the turn. The order in which a claimant receives a good of some kind relative to the other claimants is the situation. A decision rule is involved, ordering participant categorically. Example, a woman and children first, or individually smallest first, then next smallest, or some mixture both. In this picture, we can see that in picture number A is not right. It's not right. And the right is picture number B, example for the turn. pregnant woman first, then old men, the next male adults. Okay, next, number 5 is sheet. And of course, across different culture, the body will be differently segmented ritually. It's from Irving Goffman quote. I quote. In some cultures, number 1, touching the skin, example the arms of a stranger is unpleasant. Like our culture in Indonesia, many girls in Indonesia don't like touch by skin from a stranger. I think it's most for religion or some we call not polite to touch the other hand. Number 2 is greeting introduction by kissing the cheek is a wrong act. Yes, this is about the sheet. Please, number 6. Possessional territory. What is possessional territory? It's about any set of objects that can be identified with the self and arrayed around the body wherever is it. The central example are spoken of as personal effects. Easily detachable possession such as jacket, hats, gloves, cigarette packs, matches, handbags, and they contain and what they contains and parcel. In this picture, we see that the marker is a backpack, is a marker as a sign of boundary to someone who didn't like to near from a stranger. Okay, next, number 7. Information preserve. The definition of information preserve is the set of facts about himself to which an individual expected to control access while in the presence of others. There are the contents of pockets, purses, containers, letters, and the like which the claimant can feel others have no right to ascertain. In this picture, you can see that the stranger want to know what she is reading, but it is not correct because someone got a private area. Okay, the last is number 8, conversation preserve. The definition is the right of an individual to exert some control over who can summon him into talk and when he can be summoned, and the rights of the set of individual once engaged in talk to have their circle protected from entrance and overhearing by others. The 2 friends are talking. They talk very slowly and more slowly because the stranger wants to hear the conversation. Okay, now the problem to analyze is from the 8 egocentric territoriality by social distancing, who we agree that in the front of my presentation is physical distancing, where is used by on situation in pandemic COVID-19. Okay, in my conclusion, okay, next, that referring to 8 concepts of self-defense with the body movement in public spaces by Irving Goffman, there are 7 concepts that can be used to avoid COVID-19 transmissions. Number 1, personal space. forms of self-defense so that strangers do not approach. This is the argument. Number 2, stall.
Mr.
The
Yopi.
argument is not, okay.
Yes. Okay. You're right. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Number 2, the stall. The argument is understanding attitude toward personal space. Number 3, use space. The argument is max distance sharing technique, including visibility. Number 4, the turn. The argument is protection technique for individuals who are susceptible to contracting COVID-19 based on priority arrangement. Number 5, the siege. The argument is local culture that avoids contact with strangers has been found to be effective in preventing the spread of COVID-19. Number 6, possessional territory. The argument is the use personal belongings as a boundary mark or barrier to physical closeness to strangers. Number 7, information preserves. The argument is limiting access for strangers to know part of an individual privacy will result in defense against physical distance. Okay, next. The conclusion number 2, why conversation preserve not include in self-protection against COVID-19? The answer is, in order to limit the conversation information so that it's not heard by stranger, the voices is lowered. Thus, personal distance is getting closer. As a result, the transmission of COVID-19 from people we know is very possible. Transmissions can occur because now COVID-19 sufferers are without symptom of health problem. This is the end of my presentation. Don't hopefully useful. Thanks, Mr. Riyadi. And I apologize when my connection is trouble.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
No problem,
again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yopi. Your presentation is very nice. It's very detailed. Yeah. So we have to apply it, your explanation in the really life. I don't know how to use it. Your explanation is very interesting. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone. Actually, the presenter already sends delivery the speech, the topic. So if you have any question, you can ask directly right now. Please. Is there anybody to ask a question?
Pak Riyadi,
Ya?
we have a question from Dr. Posma.
Okay.
On the chat box.
Bisa dibaca. Please, you can read the question.
Okay,
Maybe
so
the address will be to be both of the speaker. Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay, so the question from Dr. Posma is, what is the difference between MDGs, Millennium Development Goals, and the current SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals?
You can repeat it, please.
What is the difference between MDGs, Millennium Development Goals, and the current SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, Pak?
Okay. I think the Prof. Uras can be answered firstly, I think, yeah, related in her topics. Okay, Bu Uras. Halo, Bu Uras. Bu Uras. Bu Uras, are you there?
She's not here, Pak. I think it is also about her bad connection.
Okay. Dr. Yopi, maybe you can ask you can give some answer for this question, maybe?
I'm sorry, I don't think so, because the question is Prof. Uras topics.
Yes, I know. It's supposed to be. What's the problem with the Uras? Okay, I can, Dr. Posma, we can delay your question maybe because the problem of Uras. Maybe I invite another question, please. Actually, address to the Dr. Yopi firstly, maybe. Hello. No. Not yet. Okay. If there is no question for the participant, I would like to give a question to the Dr. Yopi. Dr. Yopi, what have you explained? This is interesting. Should we have make a new standard of new ergonomic because of the COVID-19 for the future, maybe? For the space, for the design, for the standard, yeah, maybe for the architect data, something like that, maybe. Please give your answer, please.
Thank you, Mr. Riyadi. Good question, but hard to answer.
Yeah.
I think that yes, because my opinion, every country has specific cultural maintain. Every country has specific cultural maintain and specific social relationships and have what we say that we have cultural relativism. That we cannot say that standard of the physical distancing in Indonesia same as America or Europa, or maybe in or same Asia like India. We cannot say that, because as I say in my presentation, that in Indonesia we can avoid the family guests to come home.
Yes.
If we refuse, we can call like in Indonesia say sombong, that angkuh, what we say in English, like I don't find some words in English, because this is so Indonesian spoken that we, the conclusion that we cannot make physical distancing same in Indonesian and average country in the world, because we have cultural relativism, not generate. That's my answer. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I know. Maybe Mr. Ramos will be explained in the next presentation, because Mr. Ramos more more detail in this discussion. Uras, tadi, is there a question from Dr. Posma?
Okay, thank you. Pardon, I must left the seminar.
Okay.
So is there any question for me?
Yes. Would you like to answer it?
I hope I didn't heard about the question.
Yeah. Wait. This one. What is the difference between the Millennium Development Goals, MDGs, and the current Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs? The question is from Dr. Posma Sariguna. Okay. I think addressed to the Prophet Uras. Okay, Uras?
Yeah, okay. I must read again the paper because I didn't keep the whole of the papers. Before the Sustainable Development Goals, there was Millennium Development Goals. They told about eight themes of the Millennium Development Goals. That is the difference. Is from the period? Is it? Mm-hmm. In the period of Millennium Development Goals, they told about others' problem. So as I can show you, maybe I can tell about this in the notice. Oh, I have shortened it. That's why the Millennium tell about others. Oh, yeah, okay. You can see the answer is in the form of the table in the where is it?
Please share.
We can see transforming sustainable urban development. Transforming sustainable urban development. Please show the table number 17. I cannot remember the point of the items, but we can see the sustainable development goals come in the third phase. It is altogether ecological sustainability, social justice, and cultural preservations to be achieved balance. But in the second phase, come then in the Millennium Development Goals, sustainability, social justice, and not without this sustainability, but only in the second phase. That's why I told now can we put the fourth phase is with hygiene in this whole living persons. But I'm sorry, I can't find it again my papers before it shortened.
Okay.
Okay, this because of the phase, not the special theme, but that it is developed in the third phase. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Posma, I hope you satisfied with the answer of the professor.
Maybe I can give it later.
Yes,
if I find it.
Is there any question for the participants, please? Ibu host from the chat, maybe? Yes.
We have it. It's from Ricky Martin. So if Mr. Ricky is here, maybe he can also deliver the questions directly.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Ricky, please your question, please. The address to whom? Mr. Ricky?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, first of all, my name is Ricky. I'm from Faculty Economy and Business. I'm very appreciate the presentation, Mr. Dr. Yofi. Very good, Mr. I can understand very good about your presentation. But my question is, sir, I want to know many people don't understand about physical distancing, not same with social distancing. So what is the solution? Because if we only see, say, and wait and say many people don't understand what that without make something, I don't know what gonna be happen. We don't want Indonesia like India problem now with COVID-19, sir. So I want to know what your argument about that. Thank you, sir.
Okay, Mr. Shofi, please give your answer, please.
Okay, thank you. As your appreciation, Mr. Ricky, and your question. The answer is because we have own cultural relativity, not generally. So like India, the government of India first should learn about their own culture. Number one, they should learn about their own culture, local knowledge of society, and then makes the regulate of physical distancing. We cannot use strictly physical distancing from World Health Organization. This is my opinion, because we have own culture. Like Emil Durkheim say about equilibrium. Equilibrium is cultural in the community who's accepted from the community, not the other community. They have own culture. They have own situation. As we see, several kampung kota, urban kampung in Indonesia, with density too tight, can be loses the pandemic COVID-19 because they have own culture. Here's my answer. Like Indonesia or India government should learn about should learn about local knowledge of society, how they're thinking, and how they make social relationship. This is my answer. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Riyadi?
Yes?
I continue my answer.
Yes, it's okay.
For Mr. Posma. The Millennium Development Goals told about the war against poverty first. Second, give education for the people. Third is for the equality in gender. Fourth, about child was starving, and also for fifth about the mother or woman, and sixth about the HIV, AIDS, malaria, and other epidemic, and also seven about the environment, and eight about the global partnership. It must be declared for the United Nations that the people, the cities or the land, the countries, developed countries should help the underdeveloped countries to the targets of Millennium Development Goals and come to the Sustainable Development Goals more in the environment system or environment problems. That's the difference from Millennium and what is Sustainable Development Goals. At the Millennium Development Goals, they told about this 8, and then to come again with the sustainability in the Sustainable Development Goals. Okay, thank you. This is the difference about the both of them.
I hope Dr. Posma will be satisfied with your information and your answer. Okay, I would like to give one answer, one question anymore. If there is a participation, there is a question, please.
I think that's all, Pak Riyadi, because we already
okay.
It's end of the time.
Okay, the time is already right.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone, and all participants, I would like to thanks for your third session, this seminar. And I would like to very thanks for the two presenter, Prof. Uras and Dr. Yopi. Have a good days today. Today's is Labor International Days. I hope we keep still we still keep in health for all the people in seminar. Thank you.
You're welcome.
To the moderator, please. I'll be back to the MC, please. Thank you.
Mr. Yadi. Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
all. Thank you.
Uras, thank you. Lily, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Lily.
much for the
Thank you all.
moderator, Bapak Insinyur Riyadi Ismanto MS, and also the speakers, Prof. Uras Yahaan, Dr. Yopi Septiadi, for sharing the interesting presentation and fruitful discussion. Thank you so much. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Now we move to the next session. This session will be moderated by Dr. Mazda Simatupang. I will read the bio note from Dr. Mazda. Dr. Mazda Simatupang, SPD, Master M.Hum, is the lecturer of Faculty of Letters and Language, Universitas Kristen Indonesia. She finished her Bachelor of English Education on 1986 at University of Sriwijaya. Magister Humaniora 1997 at University of Atma Jaya, and Doctor of Language Education 2009 at Universitas of Negeri Jakarta. Her responsibility on her study field is teaching various subjects: grammar, speaking, listening, writing, English phonology, morphology, syntax, sociolinguistic, and research methodology. Please, Dr. Mazda Surti Simatupang.
Okay. Can you hear my voice clearly, Dr. Bu Lili?
Yeah.
Can you hear my voice clearly?
Pardon? Okay.
Hello, can you hear my voice clearly?
Yes, Bu Mazda, is okay.
Yes, it's good enough. Good enough.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for the introduction, Ibu Lili. Now, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for me to be the moderator of Day 2, Session 2. It's nice to meet you all, everybody, even though this is the virtual meeting. We cannot see directly, but hopefully this seminar really gives big impact. And welcome to all three speakers in Session 2. I hope that it doesn't reduce our spirit to present your research presentation. So for this session, let me be the chair of this parallel session so that the program will run well. Ladies and gentlemen, the presentation will be presented by the three presenters continuously. And we will have the session of asking and answering questions at the end of those three sessions of the speakers. So speaker 1, continue by speaker 2, continue by speaker 3, and after that we will have time for asking questions. So for all participants, if you have questions after you listen or while you listen to the speakers, you may write the questions in the chat box. So you don't wait until everybody finishes. To avoid forget. So you will not forget your questions. Once again, you can write on the chat box when you have questions from one speaker. And don't forget to write to whom is the question. For example, question to who, and then you write the questions. Thank you. And before we start our first speaker, everybody, let me read the profile of the first speaker. So, yeah, the first speaker is Dr. Ramos P. Pasaribu, AMD Real Estate STMT. He is a lecturer of Master of Architecture Study Program, Universitas Kristen Indonesia. He finished his Doctor of Architecture at Universitas Katolik Parahyangan. His concern is in urban kampung and ecologies in around city center. His knowledge fields include environment, everyday architecture, focus on kampung, environment, and ecologies. So that is the very short profile of Dr. Ramos. So everybody, I think we can start the presentation. So let's listen to Dr. Ramos with the title Distant Pattern Form of Keeping Distance in Preventing the Spread of COVID-19 at Open Spaces in Gang Densely Populated Urban Kampung Case Study, Gang of Kampung in Tambora, Sub-District West Jakarta. So Dr. Ramos, time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. My topic research is distance pattern form of keeping distance in preventing the spread of COVID-19 at open spaces in gang densely populated urban kampung. Next. This research starts from a concerning phenomenon that has occurred to date is the COVID-19 pandemic outbreak that has affected the whole world. Next. In Indonesia, especially in DKI Jakarta, which continue to experience an increase in the number of COVID-19 cases of January 1, 2021, with 1,956 cases, and so that the total number of COVID cases 19 in DKI Jakarta were 185,691 cases. Next. That's occurred to date. The spread of the COVID-19 virus in Indonesia continues to increase and causes various problems. Next. The pandemic has an impact on the space in architecture, various pandemics and their effect on the architecture that occur in the world, starting from cholera pandemic types with a reaction to organized systems and urban waste treatment infrastructure, pest pandemic with a reaction to avoid dark and humid spaces, Spanish flu pandemic with a reaction to access fresh air and sunlight in public spaces, tuberculosis pandemic with a reaction to isolating the patient in with fresh air, optimal sunlight, avoiding narrow and dim spaces or remang-remang. Next. During the COVID-19 pandemic in Indonesia, with a reaction to independent isolation, home quarantine, physical and social distancing, regional isolation, maintaining cleanliness. In DKI Jakarta, with a reaction to protect by governor regulation of DKI Jakarta number 79, 2020, among others, using masks, washing hands, and limiting physical interaction with a distance of at least 1 meter. Next. On the other hand, there is an interesting phenomenon until now, according to Emil Salim, that occurs in Indonesia today is dualism in urban life, which is a future of urban life in many developing countries in Indonesia. Next. The same thing said by Indrayana, that like almost everything, urban development in Indonesia took a dualistic course, tale of two cities. The first city, formal high standard, rational settlement, and the second city, indigenous, formal, and human in its development, locally known as the Kampung. Next. This is a visualization of urban kampung settlement in Jakarta. Next. A similar thing is found in DKI Jakarta, with the most densely populated kampung in Southeast Asia, Tambora, located in West Jakarta, which grows together with city activities with formal high standards and rational settlement in the vicinity. Like this picture, visualization of Kampung Tambora, and this is a more seasoned city around Kampung Tambora. Next. This is a visualization gang street in urban Kampung Tambora. Next. As like in Tambora, the gang in the urban Kampung settlement is not only a street space that functions as a means of circulation to connect one place to another, but also a means of various other community activities in carrying out their daily lives. Next. Firstly, the gang space for the life of the Kampung community begins with the privatization of public space in the gang into place to sit, chat, trade, and so on. Because the phenomenon is carried out almost dominating along the gang, the privatized gang are reclaimed by the public to be a living space, like this picture. Next. The problem, how to prevent physical and social distancing in densely populated settlement communities, as said by a resident of Kalianyar Tambora, Setiawati. Keeping the distance here is difficult, never mind as family. It's hard to keep our distance here. And so, according to the head of the Kalianyar Subdistrict, Daniel Aska, a Lurah, that Kalianyar has a density of 95,000 people per kilometer square. In Jakarta, there are approximately 15,000 people per kilometer square. And he said that the COVID-19 is spreading through droplets. The challenge is to keep the resident in crowded areas. By looking this problem, the researcher was interested to know about the form of distance pattern of keeping distance in preventing the spread of the COVID-19 in Kampung. Next. The study was using qualitative methods through a descriptive of case study approach. The analysis in the study used the dominant analytical method approach by analyzing the dominant pattern in social interaction based on the behavior that occur in the gang space in the densely populated Kampung Kalianyar. Next. The formulation and the research question. There is a change in the meaning of gang in the Kampung, and activities in the gang in the Kampung take over to other functions. And along the narrow gang in the Kampung, places are built to accommodate the activities in Kampung for daily life, and daily activities that form in the long gang form a social interaction space, and social interaction space in Kampung form personal space. And then creating distance and keeping distance in preventing the spread of COVID-19 virus in relationship between personal space in the social interaction space. The research question, how does the meaning affect to the activities in the gang? What kind of the activities affect to the creation of place? And how do the places affect to the formation of social interaction space? And how does the social interaction space affect to the keeping distance in the personal space? And how does the social interaction space affect to the creation pattern form and personal space relationship for distance of keeping distance from this spread of COVID-19 in gang? Next. Tambora district was chosen as the location of this case study object because Tambora district is the most densely populated district in Southeast Asia and expected to represent densely populated urban village in Indonesia. The research was limited in Kalianyar subdistrict because Kalianyar subdistrict is the most populous urban village in DKI Jakarta. Next. Next. The focus of this research in the gang, which has less than 1.5 meters and very tight distances between buildings, and in the gang space, which has changed its function from a circular space into a living space every day, and in the place that was interpreted for the daily social interaction space activities, of residents, has created spaces for social interaction. Please, next. This is a visualization of location of Tambora sub-district, and this is a visualization of characteristic of Tambora district. Next. This is a visualization of border of Tambora district. Next. This is a visualization of community activities on the gang space. There are regional, next, selling, buying, chatting between individual, next, trading, looking around, next, sitting, gathering, crossing, children playing between groups, next, next, sitting and gathering and chatting between individual in groups, next. Sitting and talking between individuals, next. Sitting and talking while the child is looking around individually and between individuals, next. Sitting and talking with someone between individuals, next. Sitting and chatting by handphone individually, next. Next. Sitting and chatting too between individuals, next. Meeting in the gang, individual in groups, next. Walking and crossing between an individual in group, next. Walking and crossing individually, next. Walking, crossing, and passing between individuals, next. Walking, crossing, and looking around individually, next. Walking, crossing, and looking around too between an individual and group, next. Walking and passing between individual and group, next. Walking and passing too between individuals, next. Riding a motorcycle and crossing while children playing between groups, next. Washing hands individually, next. Children playing between individuals, next. Children playing between an individual in groups, next. Playing and looking around individually and between individuals, next. Children playing and looking around between individual and group and between individuals, next. Gathering and looking around between groups, next. Interacting socially between groups. And then how to understanding about urban kampung. In Kampung Kalianyar Tambora, that the space and place as living space and living place agree without planning with the standard settlement as like in general city, be it green open spaces, children playground, and so on. Next. According to the Saucer and Benderger and Lakman, the meaning in the gang in this context that the gang space apart from being interpreted based on the representation between the rules or real function and reality of the function of gang, expressing the meaning of gang space based on a reality through externalization, objectification, and internalization. Next. This is a meaning process from denotative and connotative association meaning to externalization and objectification and internalization in the gang. Next. And based on Jeffrey Broadbent and Arif Sabaruddin, in the function in this gang, the function in this research is the gang space used for the physical function, efficiency, and utilization. Next. Based on according to the Betzel and Amos Rapoport, the activities in the gang are dominated by actual and unique activities every day as a daily needs system activities or routinity activities. There are selling, buying, parking, walking, and so on. Next. Based on Benny Hood and Dennis Perron, the place in the gang for various activities for living space every day, the residents, seller, etc., such as place to sit back or to chat and gossip, and so on. Next. Based on Amos Rapoport and Lefebvre, that space in the context of this study has relationship and distance or boundaries between people, between thing and things, and is always consumed, produced, and reproduced according to the activities in it. The existence of social space can be felt by aspect physical and non-physical aspect. Next. Now, how to understanding gang space as a living space in Kampung. In the idle house in the city have spaces that are able to facilitate the movement or activities of residents. In densely populated urban kampung live in adjoining settlement and make a living space that extends from the house into the gang as an extension of their main house. They maximize the existence of other spaces around their house area as part of their living space. In the distance of preventive distance COVID-19, the people who live in the idle house have a private space that allows them to keep their distance, and who live in kampung have space to allow distance. Next. Like this picture, let's compare the function of the house space and the kampung space based on the three spatial functions that allow people, namely resting rooms, flexible space, and service room. The resting room in the house is a bed, which is moved to the urban kampung, becomes the resident house. In kampung, gang as a flexible space and the house as a resting room. Next. This is a visualization of dialectics, reality, the difference from rational city and kampung, where the playground in rational city and in high standard is example the playground, the real estate, and rational settlement, and the kampung children playing in gang space in kampung, and then living room in. Can see living room in rational city, and then a living room in living space at in the gang is very irrational. No, irrational, but no irregularly. Okay, next. The extension of self space. This is a process of from a personal space to place. Between place to place, there are social interactions. And then from the personal space to place, there are public, private, or living space in the gang, and public space in temporal and permanent meaning. Thanks. Next. This is a visualization of flexible spaces or living space in gang. Next. Next. Result of this research as conclusion, the meaning of the gang space as a public open space created in the kampung is dominated by a meaning based on the associative social connotation of daily resident and sellers activities that affect the creation of activities in the gang as an open space for temporary and permanent activities. Next. Activities along the gang are dominated by activities to meet the daily needs, especially at the same time there are spaces that intersect with each other and even merge between activities with one another to form a system of activities. Space in gang interpreted as a space for daily activities or living space, and then becomes a living space, living place. Next. The places along the gang are dominated by space for the residents to extend themselves or becomes part of the residents' lives. Places along the gang influence the creation of the two types of public open space. There are public open space as a public-private space or limited public open space, and two public open space as a reclaimed space from a public-private space to be a public open space or living space. Next. The formation of social interactions pattern in gang, which can be grouped into social interaction individually, between individuals, between an individual in group, between an individual and a group, between an individual and the groups, between groups. Next. Like this picture, space for social interaction in gang is dominated by two groups of social interaction formation pattern. There are the relationship between individuals and between individual in group created by the everyday activities in gang. Number 2 and number 3. Next. In place activities produce personal distance in social interaction. Social interaction space with a distance between personal space about 0.5 to 1 meter as a distance for the prevention of COVID-19 that are considered to eye contact, which dominated by looking, viewing distance, which dominated by 0.5 to 1 meter, and the direction or angle of the face in communicating verbally, which dominated by irregularity. Next. This is a process from function to distance, keeping distance. The function-based area of space Kalia Anyar, 31 hectare, and total population 30,000 people, and population density 95,676 people per kilometer square, and affect to the meaning gang as a living space in everyday activities, then affect to the activities to the meaning in various activities in gang, and affect to the meaning place, yes, a permanent place or temporary place, and affect to the space, public-private space, reclaimed space in gang, and effective distance in personal distance in the gang. Next.
Excuse me, Dr. Ramos, 2 more minutes.
In the representation of space in producing a distance, in keeping distance to prevent COVID-19 in the Kampung, the interpretation of the residents and settlers, the meaning of gang, space and place affect the activities fill the gang, space to produce or social interaction space, and in which it affect to the distance of keeping distance in personal space. Okay, next, thank you. Any seconds, and any question, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ramos, for a very interesting presentation. I'm sure that there will be questions from participants, but you can keep the questions if you want to ask directly. If not, you can write in the chat room, everybody. All right, thank you. For the next speaker, Dr. Posma. And before he presents his research, let me read his profile. Dr. Posma SJK Hutasoid ST SE MSI MSE is a lecturer at Master of Architecture Study Program and a lecturer at Faculty of Economics and Business, Universitas Kristen Indonesia. He finished his Bachelor of Engineering at Bandung Institute of Technology, ITB, ITB, Bachelor of Economics in Management, Pajajaran University, Bandung, or UNPAD, and then a Masters of Law at Pajajaran University, Bandung, Master of Management Science at University of Indonesia, UI, and then Master of Economics at University of Indonesia. A lot ya, Pak Posma. And Doctorate of Economics at University of Indonesia too. His activities are as deputy in expert staff of the House of Representatives of the Republic of Indonesia, or DPR RI in Indonesia. As researcher of Indonesia Border and Defense of Economic, he is also doing that. He also teaches at Telkom University and Maranatha Christian University Bandung now. Wow, that's great. So everybody, to save our time, let's listen to Dr. Posma. Dr. Posma, time is yours.
Thank you for the moderator. Good morning to all participants. I will share my record screen. Can help this? Okay. Thank you. Okay. I will present my paper that entitled Lessons from the COVID-19 Pandemic for an Urban Economy. The case of urban resilience in Jakarta. COVID-19 pandemics differ from most other disasters in that they do not damage infrastructure, have a long duration, and have a significant economic impact. So mitigation is primarily concerned with protecting people and providing financial security. Simon Lewis from University of Oxford shows that the most significant impact of a pandemic on economy is predicted to occur for 3 to 6 months, with a decrease in the economic growth of approximately 5%. After this period, we hope economic growth will bounce back. We must learn lessons from COVID-19 to boost economic growth in the future. Although getting better from economic recession, Indonesian growth increased by only 1.83%, from minus 5.32% in the second quarter to minus 3.49% in the third quarter of 2020. However, there was a trend of economic improvement in the fourth quarter of minus 2.19% year on year. Only when transmission across the population is cut off can life return to normal if there is no lingering risk of another wave. From the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, we need to learn from the situation, look at existing experiences, correct mistakes, and continue development in a better direction, especially in urban areas, especially in Jakarta. The effect of the COVID-19 pandemic on the economy. To slow the spread of COVID-19, it is necessary to distance between infected and non-infected people. The only way is to keep everyone separate or physical distancing. This resulted in an economic recession which created a two-curve problem, namely health. You see top panel in the figure and the economy bottom panel in the figure. The government places restriction on workers from working or producing, so deepening the recession on the supply side, and consumers from consuming, so deepening the recession on the demand side. This recession happened and could not be avoided. What cannot be avoided is the long-term damage to the economy due to the imposition of restrictive policies on the human movement or activities. You see the top panel in the figure. The government makes a stop policy on production and consumption to damage the economy, making the recession longer and deeper than it should be to maintain public health. Therefore, the government needs to provide policies to protect the economy from long-term damage. Lesson from the COVID-19 pandemic for cities. Impact on urban socio-economy. COVID-19 had attacked the vulnerable groups of the urban poor are harder. In many parts of the world, the rapid and non-uniform development of cities has resulted in conditions where many urban population live in slum areas with poor living and sanitary conditions. The combinations of factors such as overcrowding, inadequate access to essential infrastructure services, and precarious livelihoods prevents the spread of COVID-19 in slum areas difficult, if not impossible, through social distancing, promotion, and restrictive measures. Slum conditions and informal developments are exacerbated by a lack of access to medical care and essential services such as clean water to meet hand washing recommendations. The precarious economic conditions and the fact that many communities depend on close social interaction for their livelihoods make adherence to the stay-at-home commandment a challenge. Complicated consequences occur in a variety of ways and on a wide scale. The impact of the pandemic on Jakarta. The dominant effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on socioeconomic activities can be grouped into several issues, including health, economy, and society. The disruption of economic activity harm economic growth. For two consecutive quarters, Jakarta's economy contracted and officially entered recession. Jakarta's economic growth in the second quarter of 2020 was minus 8.23%, and in the third quarter, it improved to minus 3.82% quarter to quarter. While in the fourth quarter, it increased by 2.55%. The economy of Jakarta compared to 2019 has decreased by 2.36%. The level of open unemployment in Jakarta province in August 2020 was 10.95%, or the equivalent of 572,000 people. During the pandemic period, the formal sector lost 453,000 workers, but only 259,000 workers were able to be absorbed by the informal sectors. And as a result, 194,000 people lost their jobs. Also, the pandemic implications are for the reduction of the workforce and the productivity of workers because of reduction in working hours. The Jakarta Regional Revenue and Expenditure Budget amount for 2020 based on Regional Regulation number 79/2019 is 87.95 trillion. However, the COVID pandemic impacts reducing Jakarta's APBD figure by 29% to 63.23 trillion rupiah. The COVID-19 pandemic has also impacted decreasing local owned revenue or PAD, especially in regional tax and levies. There was a decrease from 50.17 trillion rupiah to 32.48 trillion rupiah. City governance. An integrated city governance strategy involves a long-term division, planning, adequate investment in the primary health care system, early warning, and coordination of activities across multiple sectors. In Singapore, Taiwan, and South Korea, cities have made outstanding achievements by developing contingency plans and applying lessons learned from the SARS and H1N1 pandemics. On the other hand, the absence of proactive planning and contingency plans in Bangladesh made it difficult for cities to respond to the crisis effectively. They have failed to increase the healthcare system's capacity, analyze the situation, assess risk, and take necessary action. Top-down management through a multi-level governance system is essential for coordinating activities. Multiple local leaders are required to take prompt and timely action. The divergent priorities have confused and undermined the effectiveness of action at the city level. The result on this lack of integrated city governance as urban management is also heavily influenced by interest of the large private sector. In response to the pandemic, the Australian governments are taking initiative to reduce the impact and contain the spread of the virus. However, their actions were uncoordinated and their priorities were different. State government is primarily trying to relieve pressures on hospitals and ensure the safety of teachers and students through the imposition of lockdown measures. Success due to integrated approach have been reported in China and Vietnam, where top-down and country-centric measures to coordinate activities across cities and provinces have been combined with a certain level bottom-up and community-based activities at the city level. Ho Chi Minh City has made significant contribution to local governments regarding information dissemination, provision of economic and social support for vulnerable groups, public space, and implementing social distance and stay-at-home measures. Strengthening community-based initiative may also be necessary when country-centered initiatives are lacking or fail to respond well. For example, community-based activities such as distributing food and other necessities have contributed to preventing famine during India's lockdown. Overall, community involvement is recommended to design a more informed and contingency plan and improve the prospect for implementation. The pandemic management policy in Jakarta. The policy of Pemprov DKI in tackling COVID-19 can be categorized as a short-term activities consisting of preventive, curative, and supportive, and long-term activities consisting of urban health development, city governance, and Jakarta smart city. In preventive policy, with the increase of number of COVID-19 patients who are included in people under monitoring or ODP, patients under monitoring or PDP, and positive patients, the Minister Health Regulation number 9 of 2020 concerning large-scale social restriction or PSBB was issued on March 30, 2020. According to the Minister of Health on April 10, 2020, according to per the rules of government, the PSBB come into effect in Jakarta. The implementation of the PSBB was carried out with restriction on all residents of Jakarta, including the temporary suspension of work activities in workplace or office. In corrective policy, the most crucial thing in this step is to find out the number of positive cases of COVID-19 by conducting testing. The rate carried out by the DKI Jakarta provincial government has exceeded up to 11,000 people per day. In addition to tests, do also searching or tracing. The search target up to 30 contacts if there are one positive case COVID-19 by conducting tests on people who have close contact with the positive patient cases and those who live in one house and associate work. The situation in Jakarta, the Jakarta provincial government is committed to improving the capacity of isolation beds in ICUs. The target increasing the capacity of isolation beds is 7,171 and ICU is 1,020 in reference hospital, especially the RSUD. The graph of daily case addition can be seen. The image below. Notes blue, dice daily, orange positives daily, and green recovers daily. In supportive policy, the occurrence of the COVID-19 pandemic coupled with implementation of PSBB have had an impact on decreasing economic activity in Jakarta. The temporary suspension of face-to-face office and school activities and restriction on the business sector that can operate has reduced income for some people in Jakarta. especially those in the middle to lower class who rely on daily revenue. So the program are food social assistance program and education assistance for private school or madrasah. The Pemda DKI distributes social assistance or bansos as a social safety net for vulnerable residents to COVID-19. The value of social assistance received by residents is 300,000 per family, consists of 9 basic food items. And in the long-term city development activities, the COVID-19 pandemic that is taking place in Indonesia provides essential lessons in the future urban development, including it is necessary to pay attention to meeting the needs of medical facilities as a standard for city health services and controlling population density in urban areas. It is necessary to pay attention to the provision of good public transportation, availability of green open space and community center, and it is necessary to pay attention to the provision of reliable basic infrastructure and facilities and the use of information technology infrastructure and the need to increase public awareness of the importance of environmental health. Several short-term targets related to health facility reform that expected to be achieved include the design of the regional public hospital, performance assessment and health minimum services standard, increasing health resources, education and training, standardization of buildings and housekeeping, development of grand design hospital services, and integrated information technology. And the Jakarta vision made for development of the city Jakarta include for the additional vision are based on spatial planning neighborhood, in which all citizens need to be met without the need to travel long distances. When it comes to large-scale social restriction, its region must be self-sufficient. It must meet its need without traveling far. And durable basic city facilities and services, increasing digital infrastructure, population data integration, and economic reforms. And as a governance city governance, the smart city is the solution that can promote integrated city management. Experience from Newcastle City, the United Kingdom, over the years, the city has used the urban observatory to collect and store real-time data on a variety of metrics. Comita states that there are 3 smart solution approaches related to their function, which can distinguish techno-driven, human-driven, and combined. Combining of 2 approaches like a technology and human-based approach is necessary to apply smart solution to tackle the pandemic, address privacy concern, facilitated and optimize coordination, information sharing, and contrast the spread of misinformation. In Jakarta smart city with the pandemic, the need for digitalization is getting bigger in line with the vision of making Jakarta a smart city connected with digital access, increasing the importance of Jakarta's target to become a digital advanced city. Pemprov DKI currently embodies a common center, the Jakarta Kini apps and the Jakarta Satu website. To realize this goal, there are still challenges. The related regional apparatus organization that do not yet have human resources and special division capable for processing data. The DKI Jakarta provincial government plans a digital transformation in the health sector like a registration, e-pharmacy, telemedicine, and e-medical records. Conclusion. The Pemprov DKI must continue to provide the best response in the short term and in the long term. In the short term, preventive policy, curative policy, and supportive policy are implemented. Meanwhile, in the long term, the DKI provincial government must continue improving health infrastructure and services and carrying out better city governance, including using technology towards a Jakarta smart city. The city of Jakarta needs to re-evaluate its policy in various sectors. For example, improving existing socioeconomic inequalities, especially for the poor who live in urban slum settlements. Such disparities can threaten public health by making it difficult to enforce protective measures such as social distancing and other policies. As cities start to recover, the top priority is the development of economy damaged by the impact of this economy. However, apart from economic growth, social and environmental dimensions are also deserve consideration. Since housing and transportation are two most significant household expenses, affordable housing and transportation program are very important for urban resilience planning. This crisis made us do a critical reflection on the importance of how to manage the city in the best possible way. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. I return the session to the moderator.
Thank you, Dr. Posma, for a very interesting presentation. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's move to the third speaker, Dr. Leonard. Before we start listening to his presentation, let me read his profile. Leonard Lisapali, MSI, PhD, is the head of Electrical Engineering Master Program of Universitas Kristen Indonesia. He finished his Bachelor of Science or BSc from University of Indonesia, Master of Science or MSc from University of Gadjah Mada, and Doctor of Philosophy from University of Leeds, United Kingdom. His working experiences are as lecturer and researcher at University of Indonesia, operation manager for Indonesia at Fugro Jason BV, as head of seismic reservoir characterization at Total EP Indonesia, and also exploration manager at Genting Oil Kasori Pte Ltd. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we will start listening to Dr. Leonard Lisapali. Dr. Leonard, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Mazda. Good morning, audience. For the stability of my connection, I think I will switch off my video first to avoid the problems. So you can see the title of my presentation is COVID-19 prediction for raising people awareness. Today I will present a different topic if we compare with previous presentation, and I hope I can show you some interesting results that I also reported to a website managed by the government institution called Sinta Database of Research, Publication and Innovation on COVID-19. The objective of this website is to give the opportunity for people, researchers in Indonesia to provide recommendation or warnings or maybe product to the government in relationship to the COVID-19. Yeah. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. If we talk about the impact of COVID-19, I'm sure that we all agree that after 1 year, COVID-19 has a huge impact. If we go to Google, for example, and do the search with the words impact of COVID-19, we will see that the COVID-19 has affected a lot of parts of our life. Well, you can name it: economy, also education, business, environment, health, physical or mental, lifestyle, and many others. Next slide, please. Google also shows that these research will provide you with 5.6 billion, not the million. So this is a really big amount of information you can obtain on impact of COVID-19. So it's clear that this COVID-19 has a huge impact on our life. Next slide, please. In terms of the electricity consumption, recently the International Energy Agency has published reports that include, for example, the electricity consumption in 2022. In 2020, sorry, we can see that in 2020 the consumption of electricity has decreased 5 to maybe 20%. You can see on the dash line on the left, during the lockdown periods at the beginning of the virus spread in various countries. Yeah. Next slide. In Indonesia, we have about 10% in the electricity consumption, but we have some increase in medical centers and residential area. So the consumption has shifted from industries and office to houses. COVID-19 has helped us in reducing the carbon emission from industry, but in residential areas, it's now shows just small increase because now people cook at home. Yeah, so husbands are at home, kids are at home, so wives will. So the good things is that in general this electricity production just remains flat or constant, so means not really affected. Only the shifting of the use in electricity, but we still see some decrease. Yeah. Next slide. If you ask why we do prediction, we have some answer. First, with prediction, we can simulate what will happen based on the existing data, and we can also plan some action to deal with problems. We can also distribute resources like medical resources, doctors, also medicine, and so on. And also prediction can also help us in making some decisions. Next slide. When we do the prediction, normally we will need some mathematical model. And here, at the beginning of my work, I use just a single normal distribution as people use just at the beginning of this COVID-19. This distribution is assumed as a model that can describe the step of virus development. So the beginning of the spread, you can see a flat curve on the left, and then rapid increase of the spread, steep curve on the left, and then rapid decrease of spread on the right, steep curve, and a tail that describe a long termination as people now start to be relaxed, but careful enough in dealing with the virus. Here I have introduced a constant A that defines the strength of virus. Sigma is the duration of the spread, and mu is the time lag to show when the peak of the spread will appear. Yeah, it's hard to see this model in the data actually, whether from Indonesia data or from global data. But I was lucky to find an example from UK showing the development of the spread started from the vaccination period in Britain in December 2020. Next slide, please. After some vaccination program and also some lockdowns, you can see now that in UK you can find a really nice normal distribution starting from December until now. Yeah, so this is a quite nice curve. Yeah, next slide. Then in the beginning of May 2020, I submitted a short abstract to Sinta website. You can see the title here. And I reported my first result of Indonesia COVID prediction curve. Here I predicted that the peak will be on 24 April 2020, increase of active cases between 1st and 3rd week of May, suggesting that government will need more medical resources. And this is what actually happened. And on 22 April 2020, I predicted accurately the COVID total numbers for the end of April. So you can see there that the my numbers and also the actual cases. Yeah. However, I start to observe that my prediction now become less accurate. So I review my model and decided to replace the single normal distribution model with a more complicated model that I will describe in the next slide. Next slide, please. This is a map of Java Island. Suppose we have first spread in Jakarta city that follows a normal distribution. After several days, one infected person travels to Bandung and cause the development of a new normal distribution with different strength and maybe with different duration. Following that, there are also infected person goes to Semarang and Surabaya, and there they build new fire centers. Individually, they may look like a normal distribution, but if you want to calculate the statistic for Java Island, we can obtain the curve by simply collecting all distribution and just summing them up. The result is like this. So next slide. You can see that the shape of the curve. Please go back. Please go back. So the shift of the curve at the right is not normal distribution anymore. It's more complicated. So that's why I then decided to change my model, and I now include more normal distribution in the model. Yeah. Next slide. Therefore, I replace my model using the summation of various normal distribution that match the collected data from Indonesia. And here is the number of distribution representing various areas in Indonesia. Well, it is important to note that if the time lags do not vary too much, so say the time distance between cities are maybe in less than say 5 days, this distribution can construct a pseudo normal distribution. In other words, data from several areas may be hidden in one national distribution. So you cannot differentiate them anymore. Next slide, please. As you can see from this slide, this is the data from global and also Indonesia. If you look at the circle there, this is just the beginning of the COVID-19. You can see that the nice normal distribution can be seen only at the first stage of this curve. After that, you need a more complicated model to describe this model. So I left my single model distribution and changed to this model here. Yeah. Next slide. Okay, now in May 2020, I submitted the second abstract to SINTA website with the title COVID-19 Potential Delay in Indonesia. Actually, this abstract was written based on the data from day 1 to day 70. So the data from day 70 to 100 was not there, but then I predict that we may have some delay. Yeah. So when I look at the result, maybe 10 or 15 days later, I can see that the curve is now increased, just indicating that we have delay in COVID-19. Yeah. So next. In June 22, I submitted another abstract to SINTA website, but this time it's about the COVID-19 development in Jakarta. If you look at the data from day 1 to day say 19, you can see that the curve there is just flat. So there is no indication if we will have increase in COVID-19. But I start to predict that this will happen. So I say that new peak will come to Jakarta. Next slide. In July 2020, I wrote the second abstract, the third abstract, just to continue with result from previous slide. And now I use the term of long COVID wave because I start to see at the black dot there, based on the data from day 1 to day 120, I start to see that we will have long COVID-19 wave in Jakarta, and this actually happened. So when we are in day number 160, I also do some prediction, and then I noticed that we will have a higher increase of COVID-19. Fortunately, after some weeks, we have decreased, but now I noticed that it is increased, well, even higher, but now it's going better. It's going down. But you can see that there are probably 100 days a period. So it means 4 months in Jakarta that we have high COVID-19. Next slide, please. Now I will show you some data from several countries. I show here a result from Europe, US, and Asia. The x-axis is just to show the total cases in 1 million population, and the y-axis shows the death cases in 1 million population. The black line here just shows the global average death ratio, which is 2.1%. So it means if you have, say, 50,000 total cases in 1 million population, you will have approximately 1,000 deaths in cases in 1 million population. You can see that in Europe and US, the position are scattered, yeah, and also higher. Yeah, US, France, and also Netherlands, the death ratio is still below the global number, but in UK and Spain and also Germany, it's higher than global number. The red ones is countries from Asia and Australia. Next slide, please. Okay, here I show you the data from Asia, and if you look at the data here, Indonesia is still in good shape, especially, but you can see that the death ratio for Indonesia is still above the global ratio. So I think we need to work better to try to reduce this. Yeah, and if you look at different countries, in general, they are in a good shape. Australia and Myanmar maybe just a small increase above the global average. But if you look at the Malaysia and Singapore, that is more affected in terms of total case per 1 million population, the death ratio is very low. So they are good. They are really in a good shape. Yeah. So if you look from the slide, I think we need to work harder to try to reduce the death ratio caused by this COVID-19. Next slide, please. Now my last slide will show you the prediction for COVID-19 in Indonesia for the coming week, or maybe next 2 weeks. The red curve is called as a 7-day moving average. So it's just the data, but you try to smooth it by doing average from 7 days data, and the blue line is my prediction. The prediction was done on 29 April, and the black dot is the data from sorry, I think this is the old slide here. And the black dot, can you go back? And the black dot is next slide, please. And the black dot, which is not here, so this is the old slide, showing the data from 30 April, so just yesterday. But I can tell you that the black dot is just sitting slightly above the blue curve, so it is still in my prediction for the next week or next 2 weeks. I think maybe we are still in a flat condition, or maybe we have some small increase. So we can expect probably 6,000 to 7,000 numbers in the next or 2 weeks. I don't know whether this is true. This is just my prediction. So we will still need to work hard lower the COVID-19. Yeah. Next slide, please. So the highlight for my my presentation is that the COVID-19 prediction curve can be modeled as a stack of various normal distribution. The method used here has been able to predict potential new virus distribution. I found that because we have 3 parameters to predict, we need at least 3 days data to detect new distribution. The methodology works better for long duration spread. So because short duration will give you only a limited data. So in case of Jakarta cases, I can say that I can predict the increase very well. Yeah. So this is accurate. So next slide. Indonesia has progressed well enough to cope with the COVID-19 spread. However, the death ratio needs to be lowered, and also the decrease of the daily case should be speeded up. So we need to work better. Yeah. Next slide. That's all my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Leonard, for your great presentation. Thanks. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have listened to 3 presenters now, and our time is 11:27. We have about 20 minutes for asking, answering. So now I open questions and answers from all participants. So you have 2 modes. Firstly, you may write your questions in the chat room. The second one, you may raise your hand, and then you can ask questions directly. Yes, everybody, we don't have a lot of time, but if we have a lot of questions, and because of the time is limited, maybe the presenters can answer directly in the chat room as well later on if we don't have time, right?
Hey, can I make one question?
The first question from Prof. Uras. Please, Prof.
Yes.
Uras.
Thank you very much. Somebody in Germany asked me, he's so skeptical with the problem in Germany. Why is the situation in Indonesia better than in Germany against COVID-19? He told me there is more the people have afraid about this COVID-19, but in Indonesia we are so still easygoing. And also the statistics, so as told by Mr. Leonard, that the condition in Indonesia is not so very dangerous. So as we thought. Thank you. How about this? How can it happen?
Sorry,
Maybe
Prof. Uras, to whom the questions?
Mr. Ramos, all of them. Mr. Ramos first, and then second, Mr. Leonard and Mr. Posma. Maybe in statistics can we answer this question?
All right, thank you for the questions, Prof. Uras. So, Dr. Ramos, you can start answering the questions.
Okay, thank you.
Is it really so? I don't think so, but the people in Germany told me so. Somebody in Germany.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Uras. Let Dr. Ramos answer your question.
Thank you.
Questions. And in Kampung, I don't know how about in German people, but in this research in Kampung, the people is almost the behavior every day based on the social culture in every day is looking for a job and economic factor to push impact to create space to looking for a space for place and effect to the social interaction, and then in COVID pandemic periods, it is their habits is very dangerous. And then in this opportunity, we must know about how to the mechanism of the distance affected to the distance, keeping distance in preventive on COVID-19. It is different from maybe it's different from Germany people and Indonesia, especially in Kampung. This Kampung is the people from desa. But in Indonesia, as dualism perception in Jakarta has two city, one Kampung and the other a rational city, where in the Kampung is the people is not rational to make a space or place, or and the other hand in city with rational is very different people in looking and useful space or place or house, their house. Is maybe is in Germany the kampung is not the same with Indonesia. Maybe in Indonesia is growth from the based on the kampung city to rational city. This is different from German maybe to Indonesia. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, then you mean,
all right.
Do you mean that it is not compare apple to apple, yeah? The living system in Indonesia and Germany. Thank you. And how about you, Mr. Leo?
Okay, thank you. Yes, Mr. Leo.
Yeah, I think what I did is just look at the data and interpret the data, whether we see increase of decrease in curve, yeah. But I think you can interpret the decrease or increase related to the culture or to the social problems and so on. For example, in May last year, actually we start to see some movement from people to go back to their home. Yeah, say people in Jakarta go back to East Java or Central Java, and we know that it may cause some problem for us. What I did is just did estimation. I predict that this will happen based on numbers. So I think that's my answer.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Leonard. Now let's listen to Dr. Posma, please.
Okay, thank you. A lot of debatable about this, yeah. How Indonesia is number 6, the management of COVID in the world. Number 1 is Taiwan and Korea, Vietnam, Finland, Norway, and then Indonesia. United States number 14, and Indonesia is a good management for COVID. And as the question of the Professor Uras, many argument about this, but I think I agree about one agreement is about the bonus demography in Indonesia, or especially in Kampung, in slum area, a lot of young people there. Yeah, more young people than old people. In Indonesia, we have the bonus demography that young people more than old people, so they are strong enough for this COVID. Different from another country in Europe or etc. Yeah. So I think because of the stronger of Indonesian people because of the old and the younger. The younger is more than the old people in Indonesia because we have the bonus demography. That is our opportunity, I think. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Posma, for the answer.
Yes.
Hopefully
Makes sense.
it's enough.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you,
Yes.
Prof.
That makes sense. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Now the next one, somebody called Ibu Ana from UMSB raise hand. Ibu Ana, I give you the time to ask question.
Okay, then can you hear me clear?
Yes, clear,
Yes.
very clear.
Okay, then. Thank you. That's very interesting webinar this morning. And you know, you make up my mind. But I still have a question for you guys for Pak Ramos and also for Pak Leo. So what do you think? What is the major impact of COVID-19 spread and the gang as a public open space? That's the first one. And the second one, how to solve it? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ibu Ana. Now, Dr. Ramos, please answer the question.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Anna. We can treat COVID-19, or especially prevent COVID-19 in the gang by to making a distance. We have known that from residents in Kampung Tambora, Setiawati, she said in Kampung Tambora is not applied 3M, especially in social distancing, keeping distance to prevent. But we know in Kampung Tambora in March 2022, 2020, still green zone, not red, and the other area have to red zone. Why? I saw that in Kampung Tambora, it's very disciplined, have tolerance from one to another one is very high tolerance and disciplining to clean kampung and making the gang for living space, not street. Not only street. Every day applied in gang as for their living space, as a living space in rational house, high standard house, but they are applied to gang as a living space. And then distance of keeping distance is very important to treat, to prevent COVID-19 in Kampung, especially in Kampung. Okay, I think that's enough to explain how to treat to prevent COVID-19 in the camp. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ramos. Now let's move to Dr. Leonard, please.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Master, and thank you, Ms. Anna, for asking question. I think the solution that we have been practicing until now is keeping the distance, washing hands, use mask, and also avoid the crowd. Yeah, I think the failure of doing this will end up with the start of the spread, and the start of the spread will be seen as normal distribution. So given 3 days data, you can predict whether this will last very shortly or it takes long time. Yeah, so it happened first, and then you predict when it will be finished, what will happen, and so on. So I think there is a relation here. So between all the health procedures and some data that you see. So that's my answer.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Leonard. Hopefully, the answer will be
Maybe
satisfied. Sorry.
Maybe me.
Oh yeah.
It
Okay.
is.
Yes.
It is the
Okay.
opportunity. It is the momentum for the government to develop the equality of rich people and poor people, like the slum area, or gang or kampung, because the most impact of the pandemic is in the kampung or slum area. That the rich people is not to get the high impact because they have space, like working at home and drive a private car, but poor people needs they don't have space, so the government must develop the kampung with the good health system in the area, good sanitation, and cheap housing, cheap public transportation. That's it. This is the momentum, the equality of development in the city, especially in the urban or informal urban, slum, kampung, or in the gang area. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kosma, for additional information. All right, for the next one, I will give the chance to Dr. Lisa to ask direct questions, please.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Mazda. Can you hear my voice?
Yes, clearly.
Yeah, I don't know the questions, but I think I would like to say some insight when I heard the presentation from Dr. Ramos, Dr. Kosma, and Dr. Leo. These all connected each other because, you know, Dr. Ramos talking about his research in urban kampung, and Dr. Leo also give his research based on data about the predictions of the pandemic of COVID-19. And Dr. Posma also talking some, regulations, policies that have been made by the government. Okay, it gives me very clearly insight, especially when Dr. Rahmons explains about the urban kampung. It's a very interesting, Dr. Ramos. I really appreciate that your research about this one because, you know, it could not unavoidable kampung in Jakarta, you know, especially in this moment of pandemic, then we know that every daily activities switch to online and every students come back to school, come back home, study from home. College also closed and we also doing learning program from home. So resident in kampung or village in housing will be full of the people. Okay, especially in we facing Idul Fitri following days and very large movement from any cities in Java Islands and from DKI, for example, going to West Java and to another cities, and you know, it has it give impacts also for urban kampung in DKI Jakarta, especially, when people going out and when they come back and they will make, make change when they come back. And maybe you can give some insight of that. And maybe Pale also can give us insight, some predictions based on data, of course, about this momental event like this. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lisa. Now I give Dr. Ramos to answer first, please. Sorry, Dr. Ramos, still muted. Yes, okay.
We know urban kampung is the kampung which grew about center of the city around age. He grew up without a standard as like as a rational city. We know in Jakarta, especially in Jakarta and generally in Indonesia, the city grew up from Kampung. Especially in Jakarta, we must know that the Kampung has complexity, is very complexity problem. And if we can have a solution for a problem in Kampung, we can a solution for the city. And we know that the Kampung is not the same with another Kampung in Jakarta. It's very different from the social culture and example, economic factor, job orientation, increases, and the other. And in Kampung Tambora is the population is very densely. Have 32 hectare, 61 hectare, and population 30 Kali Anyar ya. Kali Anyar, population density 9,000, 95,000. In Jakarta, 15,000. Yeah, six times bigger from Jakarta, approximately in Jakarta, in Kampung Tambora. This is a characteristic of a kampung, urban kampung, especially in Jakarta, and grew up for economic factor. Many people from desa looking for a job to Jakarta with hope to opportunity, have money from their job, and they're living. They live in kampung permanently. No, permanently. Yeah. Yes, permanently. Temporarily, and then it's very making high population and impact to the problem, especially COVID-19. But in Kampung Tambora is high population, high density population is very interesting. It's not impact to the COVID-19. I think that, I see that in March in 2020 is Kampung Tambora still red green zones. It's very interesting. And then affect to the student if you start to learn, you are a student from kampung, their kampung to start to learn in Jakarta. We must know that it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous. If the student not to know the habits in the kampung, social culture is very important factor to adaptation in transformation from kampung in before COVID, preventive before to after COVID, COVID after. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Kak Ramos. Maybe I can, may I see the, hello, Dr. Mazda. Can I hear the insight from another speakers from Dr. Leo and Dr. Posma as well? Can you predict the second wave or the third wave after this Hari Raya, maybe?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Lisa. Just now I cannot use the mic. Yes, Dr. Leonard, please, time is yours. Dr. Leonard, still muted, sorry. Still muted. Yes.
Is that okay? Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Based on data, I think I don't see the effect of mudik yet. Yeah. What I can see is actually a small strength of the COVID distribution spread with with shorter a shorter duration. So I think this probably caused by people get euphoria, so they go out for dinner, meet with friends, and so on. But they're careful. Many of them have been vaccinated as well. So I think I still see a small strength of COVID spread with short duration. So I will predict that we will have just a flat curve, maybe about 5,000 first. Maybe in the next weeks we will have a higher number, but still limited to maybe 6,000 to 7,000. But as soon as I can see that in the latest 3 data, I can predict whether we will have increased a very big increase, like I noticed in Jakarta case, yeah, in my slide. But at the moment, I don't see it yet. I think we are still in the euphoria stage, probably. Yeah. So I will tell you whether if I can see that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Leonard. Dr. Posma,
You're
do you want
welcome.
to add some more? Sorry, still muted, Dr. Posma.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
We have argument for the behavior of the kampung, slum area or urban. We cannot avoid they go back to pulang mudik, yeah. We cannot avoid because of the social behavior, because of the space. They have a small space, so they have to go, and they pick the time in Lebaran or Tahun Baru in the kampung area. They are in the social approach. Because they are not in the closed activities like us, they have informal work, so they have open activities. They can go every day, every time, and then we cannot avoid it. But we thank to the government. I hope this strong policy to stop the people movement to the kampung succeeded. If that is okay, I think the Pak Dr. Leonard, for the only small rising COVID-19 in the urban area will be achieved. I think that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Posma. All right, now is 11:53, but we still have one more questions. I hope that this will be the last one from Pak Muhammad Abidin. So Pak Muhammad Abidin, you have raised your hand. Now I give you the time to ask directly.
Hello. Do you hear my voice, please?
Yes, very clear.
Thank you. Thank you, moderator. I would like to give a question to Dr. Pasaribu. Ramos Pasaribu. I think my question, the first one, almost pretty same with Ibu Ana about how prevents COVID at Kampung Chambora. I think I want to add 3 answer to Ibu Ana because 3M, I believe, is not good enough to prevent COVID. I believe we have add more like 5M and then plus 1. The second one, the 4, like avoid the crowded, and then the 5th one is stay at home if there is not important business. And then the first one that's also involved with Indonesia government, like everyone should have get a vaccine to cure, not to to take out all of the coffee. And I believe the program is very worth to people get a vaccine. That's I want to add another answer to Mr. Ibuana. So goes to a question to Mr. Pasaribu. I'm very interested with your presentation. It's very wonderful. So it's bothered me is like you have one slide. I'm one slide that compare standard high standard city to Kampung Tambora. You know, I believe there's not we cannot avoid you know the spread out the coffee at Kampung Tambora because this Kampung Tambora is very crowded. There's not a space enough to everyone, and then you know very dirty and not clean. So my question is, do you have I have a question to Mr. Dr. Pasaribu. Do you have a suggestion or solution to make Kampung Tambora at least have a standard city that can people can live good enough for health and a good community over there? Oh yeah, and then my name is Muhammad Arifin Abidin. I'm from student of Hasanuddin University, second semester, majoring architecture. Thank you. That's all my my question to Pastor Ibu, and
Thank you.
Everyone. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Pak Muhammad Abidin. Now, Pak Dr. Ramos, please answer the question. Still muted, Dr. Ramos? Yes. No, not yet, Dr. Ramos, not yet. Okay, now,
Okay,
yes.
Mr. Abidin, thank you very much. Good question. I would like to try to answer your question. I have proposed five I think that's enough five. Maybe I also try to only five, yes. The first is system activity, Mr. Abidin. System activity in Kampung Tambora must be setting. I see that the system activity is irregularity, is very, very, very irregularity. It's not deterministic. There must be system in activity. System activity must be setting, system setting. And then two, pattern form in keeping distance must be limited. That is, from my research is why Kampung Tambora have green zone in March 2020, because pattern form in keeping distance dominated by individual and groups, not individual in groups. If individual in groups, it's very dangerous to spread COVID-19. As said by Lura, head of Kali Anyar, it's very dangerous from droplets to spread COVID-19. And three is, I think that time interaction must be limited. Yeah, not every time, but we must do limit by when they can do interaction. Maybe in afternoon, they going to looking for job, money, and then again they go home to together, making chatting together, gathering. That time is limited yet. And then population in Kampung must be limited too. Yeah, population in Kampung must be limited. Like that room, if we have, we can take class or another building, we must limit it of capacity. In Kampung, we must the occupation of gang must be limited, and then access access to Kampung must be limited too. In Kampung, Tambora have open Kampung, have to more access to Kampung, not close. It's very dangerous if not stop limit of the access to the Kampung. Yeah, we must access to Kampung must be limited. Okay, this is 5 approach from me to maybe to treat to prevent COVID-19 in Kampung Tambora, Mr. Abidin. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ramos. Because time already limited the time that we have planned. Maybe for the last one, I just give time to all speakers to give what's that closing statement. Maybe start from Dr. Posma, please, 1 minute.
Okay, thank you. I have one statement. In developing city, the equality of development. This is the momentum of the equality of development, not just for the rich people, but also to the poor people, because poor people or in slum area, urban or kampung, have impact of pandemic 19 harder. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Posma. 1 minute. Yes, for the next closing statement, Dr. Ramos, please.
Yeah, I hope this solution can be a solution for a problem of the city, especially in COVID-19 pandemic periods. Yeah, maybe if we have to discuss again in topic in the next to looking for a problem solving for these topics, yeah, pandemic and architecture. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ramos. Now, the last one from Dr. Leonard. 1 minute of closing statement, please.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Masda. So if I look back at the beginning of the COVID-19 in the first month, I noticed that our recovered to death ratio is still less than 1. It means that people dies more than recover. Now we have about, the ratio is about 33. So it means our condition is better now. But still, if you look at the data, we are still above of the global average. So I think we need to work harder to help ourselves as a nation to reduce this. And I think all the people, architecture, engineers, and so on, need to work together to cope with this. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Leonard. All right, ladies and gentlemen, time really limited.
Maybe from Prof. Uras, moderator, from Prof. Uras.
From Prof. Uras, okay.
Yes.
Prof. Uras, maybe 1 minute closing statement.
Yes, I think I should make a thank you, grateful for all participants. And thank you very much for your coming. And we have learned about this COVID-19 and the pandemic in the cities. And we can also use it as a point of the collaboration for all of us. Maybe discussion about the slums slums area. I mean, it is in German language, slums area, and with you, all of you, thank you very much. if you agree, we can go further with this discussion in outside from this seminar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Uras. And the last speaker, Dr. Yopi Septiadi, 1 minute closing statement, please. Dr. Yopi?
Okay, thank you. We have to learn a social and cultural way to prevent COVID-19 pandemic. I think Indonesia have a good movement to study about the people movement like mudik or pulang kampung. So the government have to stop and limited the people movement. They're a very clever way, and then we hope not just like mudik or pulang kampung with context in Lebaran, but the other big day for Indonesia, the government should be expected with the people movement. Okay, this is from me. Hope thanks to all to listen our seminar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Yopi. All right, for all speakers, thank you very much. Thank you for the last closing statements, really meant to everybody. Okay, time is up, everybody. So as a moderator, sorry, I cannot give you a summary, but the summary is already spoken by all 5 speakers. Now I will give it back to the MC. Thank you very much. See you again.
Thank you very much for the moderator, Dr. Masdan Surti Simatupang, for the leading us in our discussion, the fruitful discussion, and the speakers, Dr. Ramos, Dr. Posma, and Dr. Leonard, for sharing interesting presentation and fruitful discussion. This brings us to the end of the entire series of international webinars with the theme, the impacts of COVID-19 on the sustainable development of cities and settlements. We would like to thank for all of the speakers, moderator, and also the participants who have already joined the international webinar for today's. Thank you very much, and see you on our next program of Universitas Kristen Indonesia. Thank you, goodbye, and God bless us all.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye.
Sorry,
Thank you very
Dr. Lily, no, no photo.
Oh, okay. We invite all of us to open the camera. Yes. Okay, the photographer already?
Yes.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Once again.
Okay. Thank you so much, and goodbye.
See you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice weekend.
Thank you.
Yeah,
See you again.
Thank you. Nice weekend.